Hello and welcome to the Resiliently Rising podcast. I am your host, Carrie Holladay, and today is a very special episode because we have the privilege of hearing from the amazing Debi Silber. So Dr. Debi Silber is the founder and CEO of the PBT, the Post-Betrayal Transformation Institute, and National Forgiveness Day, which is celebrated annually on September 1st. She's an award-winning speaker and a two-time #1 international best-selling author. Her podcast, From Betrayal to Breakthrough, is also globally ranked within the top 1.5% of podcasts. Her PhD study on how we experience betrayal made 3 groundbreaking discoveries that changes everything we've known about how to fully heal physically, mentally, and emotionally from this specific type of trauma. She is the creator of the #1 Betrayal Recovery Certification program for life, business, health, and leadership coaches. Dr. Debi certifies practitioners globally using her evidence-based framework. She's a sought-after expert featured on Fox, CBS, The Dr. Oz Show, and TEDx twice. She specializes in predictably helping industry leaders, visionaries, and executives move beyond betrayal and break through the block standing between them and the exceptional life they want most. Thank you so much for being here, Debi. Just reading that, I'm like, dang. She knows
I was
what's up.
surprised myself. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you've done so much for moving the needle in what we understand about betrayal trauma and how to navigate it. What is it that really kind of brought you to this place? I'm always curious to know your story in getting you here.
You don't think I just said, "Oh, betrayal, that's a fun topic to talk about"? No. I'm in business 34 years, and it was health and then mindset and then personal development. And then I had a really painful betrayal from my family. I thought I did all I needed to do to heal from that. But then it happened again a few years later. This time it was my husband. So anybody who's been through that, you're shocked, devastated, heartbroken. I certainly was.
Yeah.
And that was the deal breaker. I got him out of the house and looked at the two experiences thinking, well, what's similar here? Of course, me, but what else? And I realized, I never really put boundaries in place. I never took my own needs seriously. And I believe if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
That's how I move through life. And I couldn't find a course, a book. I usually kind of learn my way out of a jam. And I couldn't find anything. And this was so big and I really needed help. I mean, I had 4 kids, 6 dogs, a thriving business. And I was like, I have to get this together. So I enrolled in a PhD program. I mean, not what many people may choose to do after a betrayal. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I didn't know how I was going to manage the time. And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal, and I really just studied it to help myself heal. So I'd be better for my kids. I could help my clients. And then that study led to those 3 discoveries, which changed my health, my family, my work, my life.
Yeah. Wow. You're right. I certainly did not think I want to go to school now to better understand this. Ballsy, I gotta say, like taking that on, I think that's incredible.
I will tell you, there was a moment, and I was in the program, and I started the study, and I remember, when you like something is so profound, you remember it, and I remember the moment that I said to myself, I have no idea how I'm going to heal from this, but if I do, and if I can, I'm taking everybody with me.
Oh,
it was just a knowing. There was no choice. Because I think it's because I'm a highly sensitive empath and integrity is my highest value. Like I couldn't find one cell of me that was okay with betrayal. So it wasn't even enough to heal myself and my family. Like, no, this had to be way bigger.
Yeah. That's I think about like my own journey. There was the moment I went on a walk with a friend, who she had just found out about her husband's betrayals. And she said to me, I'm so glad that I saw you go through it. Even though she's like, I know this sounds awful, but I'm so glad because she's like, now I know I can get through it. And that was my like, oh my gosh, I want to help other people like understand this and navigate this so they don't have to feel like they can have hope of, oh, I can do this too. So exactly, like I get that. Like I want to help as many people, kind of the turning pain into purpose idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but helping them, it's so sensitive and it's so
Mhm.
specific, but that's why, I mean, there are ways to help where you're actually moving someone forward. And
Yeah.
then there are ways to help where that person is feeling heard and validated and understood, but they're not an inch closer to healing. And
Mm.
it's like solidifying their spot in the hardest place to move, which was the third discovery. You're happy to talk about it. But when someone actually knows how to help someone move through it, there's
Mhm.
nothing better. And to serve as that example, like you are, like someone who's been there and has lived to tell, and you're out the other side. That's just beautiful. I mean, that's such an inspiration for people.
Yeah, there's that, you're right, a fine balance between like just being able to relate is not enough. Like that's a huge piece. Like a lot of clients, they come like, I want somebody who gets it, who understands, so I don't have to explain it to and to defend myself to. It's a big, huge piece. And then there's, okay, where's the action? Like,
Yeah.
what do we now do with that relatability is so, so important. So I'm curious if you mind sharing, like, from your research, which you've done so much. I have referenced you multiple times in all of your um, studies that you have pulled together. What is happening from your perspective? What is happening in the mind and the body with that initial shock?
Mm.
And why is it so disorienting? Why is it that betrayal is so traumatic?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. This was the person you trusted the most. This was the person, or these were the people who gave you a sense of safety and security. So when that's the person, or these are the people, to take that sense of safety and security away, it's completely disorienting. I mean, this was the person you'd run to when other people are causing harm. That's the person who's causing the harm. So where do you go? So it's a complete shock to the body, the mind, the heart. It's like the person just took a mask off, and
Like, yeah.
it has you questioning everything. Because, like, let's say, and this was actually the first discovery why betrayal is a different type of trauma. Like, if you lose someone you love, you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss. Life will never be the same.
Mm.
But you don't necessarily question the relationship. You don't
For
question,
yourself.
trust. You don't question your sanity, right? With betrayal, you
Mhm.
do. So it's totally different because, you could look back on that relationship with that person you loved and you lost and reflect and be like, oh, I remember those great times. And it was so beautiful. And I miss them. Yes. Right. But with betrayal, you're like, wait a second. When I thought we were on this happy family vacation, what were you really doing? What was
Mhm.
really going on? It taints all of that.
Absolutely. I'm curious, you, in your stories, you shared like the experience of betrayal with
Mm.
family and the
Yeah.
betrayal in your marriage. And I see this time and time again. I've experienced it personally where there my the betrayal in my marriage was not the first betrayal I had experienced.
Yeah.
So what were the differences and similarities that you noted between the two? As I'm sure many people can also relate that the betrayal from family and others that are really close
Yeah.
kind of
You know,
stand a lot.
it, it's interesting you bring that up because when I was doing the study originally, I wanted to study the betrayal and the kind of upside, like the healing part, right? That was
Mhm.
always my interest. But
Right.
at first, it was the betrayal of a family member, partner, or friend. And I actually had to drop the friend part because while they will infuriate us, make us so angry, they don't break us. Well, we're never broken, bent,
Mhm.
like a family member or a partner. Those are the ones who get us the most. And that's because that's where we've put our sense of trust, our sense of safety, our sense of belonging, all of that. So it's always the ones we trust the most. They're the ones who are going to really hurt us the most. But they're both absolutely traumatizing,
Mhm.
and very often one leads to the next. And that's what we haven't healed
Yes.
because it's like we come out of the let's say the family betrayal and we're like, we kind of like, okay, I know how this goes. I know how to work with this. So,
Yeah.
unconsciously we pick up more of the same where, when
Mhm.
we do fully heal, we sniff that stuff out from a mile away.
Yeah. Yeah, great point. It's like the the familiarity. You know, that
Mhm.
what you gravitate towards what you know. Your
Yeah.
system starts to see red flags as green flags and green flags
Mhm.
as red flags,
Yes.
and that's where I know for me, like, I gravitate towards my husband. There were so many red flags. There were so many red flags,
Yeah.
but they were comfortable because they were familiar. But I
Mhm.
knew
Right.
that that's where the true healing starts to be, where there's green flags are green flags and red flags are red flags.
Yeah.
And to speaking to your point, there's the boundaries that we start to set. There's the, reconnecting to ourselves that I'm no longer going to tolerate this. I see it for what it is, and I'm
Mhm.
going to respond accordingly.
Exactly, because if we're not healed, we start making excuses for
Mm,
those red flags. "Oh, maybe it's me. Maybe that's really not I'm making more out of it than what it is. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it. Like, why is it all what we're doing?" Why couldn't it be just the behavior that we're seeing,
yeah.
right, that we're not making excuses for? But because of the shattering of the self,
Yes.
rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust, like, there's no wonder we're gonna start making excuses for that kind of stuff because we haven't rebuilt ourselves. When we do, though, that's when we can see it so clearly. And the greatest thing that I've seen come from when we're fully healed. I mean, moving through the 5 stages of betrayal to breakthrough, we didn't really get to it yet, but when we fully healed, is this not only this rebuilt sense of self, right? This new appreciation for who you've become, what you've been through, new businesses, new relationships, new whatever, but it's this self-love, you
Yeah.
know? It's this because we've earned it.
Mm.
We finally appreciate, love ourselves enough to not tolerate stuff that the old version of us had. That's trauma well spent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of the, attachment versus authenticity, and there's all the
Mhm.
justifications and the self-blame. eh, "Oh, but it wasn't really their fault," or, oh, even excusing it because of their trauma,
Yeah.
that's the attachment. We gotta do whatever we can to preserve the attachment at the cost of ourselves. That's
Yeah.
a really high cost. Like, our authenticity, our boundaries, our true safety, and
Mhm.
not the idea of safety. When we try to find some bearings, our system wants to feel safe, so it's gonna try to mask that safety. But when we can really come back to that relationship with ourselves and to that true authenticity, we're no longer going to abandon ourselves essentially for that attachment.
It's so true. And it doesn't have to be all terrible either. Like,
Oh, yeah.
for
Yeah.
example, you are intentionally and deliberately recreating yourself when you've decided to heal, that's what's going on.
Yep.
And I remember like I was like, it all crashed and burned. I'm rebuilding all of it. And one of the things I took on was I remember I was so hard on myself always. I was, always pushing myself to do things and accomplish things and it fed me because I got a lot of accolades from, oh, all these kids, how do you do it all? It was like kryptonite. It was terrible. And so I just kept doing more and more and more. But after the betrayal, one of the things when I was rebuilding, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be like that anymore. So, for example, I
Mm.
get lost wherever I go. It's just what happens. So I leave extra time because I know I'll probably make a turn where I'm not supposed to, have to redo it, whatever. But then I was like, and then I would call myself a bunch of names. And I realized I don't want to
Mhm.
be like that anymore. So one of the things I did was that I'm going to still do the same stuff, but instead of calling myself names, now it's simply adorable. That's it. Yeah, that's it, and
The
everyone has
court.
to go along with it. It's
Yeah.
just adorable, so but that's what I'm talking about. As you're rebuilding and as you're recreating yourself, you get to choose. I was like, "I don't wanna be like that anymore. It's not kind. I wouldn't
Mhm.
be like that to anybody else. Why am I being like that to myself?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think of. I would never wish betrayal on anybody, like, never ever wish on anybody. But the healing of it, like, that rediscovery, rebuilding, talk about rebuilding relationship
Mhm.
with your
Yeah.
partner. There's the rebuilding the relationship with yourself and how you wanna make it. I would wish that on everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that I mean, I feel myself getting emotional about it, like, it is
Yeah.
really the most beautiful experience to walk through, and I wish that everyone could have that without having to go through
No.
betrayal, but unfortunately, that's, the route to, pain mm, has the potential
But
to
it's so
really, yeah.
Yeah, you're so right, because that's where you see what you're really capable of, what you're
Yes.
really made of, how strong you really are. How do we
Mhm.
know otherwise? How do we know? But it's that strength, that confidence, that personal power, it's
Yeah.
earned. And
Yeah.
that's how it's earned. Moving through stuff you never thought you could move through.
Yeah. And honestly, you didn't even deserve to have to move
That's the
through.
truth. Yeah.
So, tell me more about the 5 stages from betrayal that you built and really is helping so many people navigate. What does that look like for those that are unfamiliar with it?
Yeah, so that was the third discovery. And when that out of the three discoveries, when that showed up, I thought my head was going to fly right off my body. I mean, that was just in the geekiest way. Like, that was the most exciting thing I've ever seen. And I'll never forget when the study chair said, "Debbie, I believe you've discovered a process here." We
Mm,
just looked at the research and it was like, "Ooh," and it was undeniable.
yeah.
And what we found was, while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a
Mhm.
lifetime, and so many people do,
Yeah.
if we're going to fully heal, we will move through 5 proven predictable stages. And what's even more exciting about that is we know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at every stage, and we know what it takes to move from one stage to the next. Healing is entirely predictable.
Tell me more about that. I mean, I know that many people, um, look for light.
Hmm.
They wanna be able to measure their healing. They want to
Hmm.
know that they're moving forward.
Yeah.
So, what are those for those that are stuck,
Yeah.
what are the biggest or maybe what are some helpful signs for them knowing that they are moving through these
Hmm.
stages?
Would it be helpful if I shared the stages?
That would be great.
Sure. Okay. So, boiled down version. So this way you could get the gist of it. So stage 1, before it happens, and if you can imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4
Mm,
legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. What I saw with everybody, me too, was a heavy lean on the physical and mental thinking and doing. We're so good at
mm,
that, and kind of neglecting or ignoring the emotional and the spiritual feeling and being. Well, if a table only has 2 legs, it's going to be easy for that
mm,
table to topple over. That's us. Stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, Discovery Day. Everyone remembers their D-Day, right? And
mhm,
this is the breakdown of the body, the mind, and the worldview. You've ignited the stress response. You're now headed for every single stress related symptom, illness, condition, disease. The mind is in a complete state of chaos and overwhelm. You cannot understand what just happened. Makes no sense. And your worldview has just been shattered. That's your mental
mhm,
model, the rules that govern you, that prevent chaos. You can trust this person. This person's safe. Don't go here. These are the rules. And in one earth shattering moment or series of moments, every rule you've been following is no longer. The bottom truly bottomed out from you, and a
mhm.
new bottom hasn't been formed yet. It's absolutely terrifying. But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything or anyone,
Mm,
right? In order to stay safe and stay alive. That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is the most practical out of all of the stages. If you can't help me, get out of my way. How do I survive this? Who can I trust?
mm.
But here's
And
the
this is
trap,
where
though.
most people get stuck.
Oh my gosh, I was just going to say that. This is
Yeah.
where everybody gets stuck. And here's why. Once you've figured out, and all of your people that you see come to you probably in this stage.
Mhm.
Once you've figured out how to survive your experience, because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma you just came from, we think it's good, right? And because
Yeah,
we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we're like, all right, I better find a way to make this work.
yeah.
We're not supposed to, but we don't know that. And 4 things happen. The first thing is we start getting all those small self benefits, secondary gain. We
Mm.
get our story. We love our story,
And
right?
over-identifying with that story. Yeah.
Exactly. We get to be right. We get someone to blame. We get a target for our anger, all this stuff. And because we're not getting anything else and we feel so unhappy, we take it. So we plant deeper roots. And now,
Mhm.
because we're here longer than we should be, the mind starts doing things like, maybe you're not that great. Maybe it's you. Maybe this, maybe that. So we plant deeper roots. And now,
Mm.
because these are the thoughts we're thinking, this is the energy we're putting out. Like energy attracts like energy. So now we're attracting circumstances and people and relationships to confirm, yep, this is where we belong. And I'm sure you see this too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because we're here and it stinks, here's where we join that lame support group, right? And now we found our people and we sabotage ourselves because we found our people. Here's where we will go to therapy, well-meaning therapists, but if they are not highly skilled in betrayal, it's doing more harm than good because
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling heard and validated and understood, solidifying your spot in stage 3. And you leave that session and you're like, you know,
What
that
I
was
do?
it. Here's where we sabotage our healing because we're afraid to outgrow our betrayer. It gets worse, but I'll
Yes.
get you. Oh, yeah. And it gets
Oh,
worse. I'll get you out of
I,
here, though.
I did that for a time.
So, right?
I did that. Yeah.
And here's where also, because we're so unhappy, but we don't know how to move through our day, we start numbing, avoiding, distracting.
Mm-hmm.
So we start using food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, whatever. And now we do it for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I can see someone 20, 30 years later and be like, okay, that emotional eating you're doing, or that drinking or numbing in front of the TV, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? They look at me like I'm crazy. They said it happened 20 years ago. All they did was put themselves in stage 3. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I see it professionally, and also personally, like
Yeah.
how long I stayed in 3. And there is, as you named, like the power.
Mhm.
There is power that we find in this story. There's power in like, okay, now I have the one up. And when betrayal makes us feel so powerless, like this was
Yes.
done to us, I had no choice, I had no control, I had no say. Then when there's this surge of power, that
Mhm.
we don't want to leave that. Like that feels so good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, like I remember I was on my journey and I was outgrowing my husband. And so
Mhm.
I receded. I was like, okay. Subconsciously, like looking
Yeah.
back, I'm like, oh my gosh. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a conscious choice. It was, oh, I guess
Of
we're just gonna go
course.
back. And that was the status quo for several more years
Yeah.
until I moved to move on to stage 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't leave you in stage 3. Okay, and what you did is so classic, and we
Mhm.
don't know, right? We don't
Yeah.
know, and so we do this, but we're living a stage 3 life, and we're medicating and suppressing the symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome. We're wondering why we still are unhappy. That's because nothing really changed. We're just surviving. That's it.
Mhm.
Anyway, if we once we grieve, mourn the loss, a bunch of things we need to do. We move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I
Yeah.
control what I do with it. That decision alone, you start turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but at least you stop the massive damage that was going on in stages 2 and stage 3. Stage 4 feels like if you've ever moved to a new house, office, whatever, all your stuff's not there. It's not cozy, but it's this sort of hopeful excitement,
Mm.
right? And it's so interesting because there's this one spot I see as people move from stage 3 to stage 4. But anyway, if you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You don't take those things that don't represent who you're
Right.
now
Like you
ready to be.
purge. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that spot as people go from stage 3 to stage 4. If your friends weren't there for you, they're not coming. That lame support group, you're done. That therapist who you're just sort of rehashing, you're done. The betrayer who's not changing, you're done. And people ask me all the time, what the heck is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation. And if
Yeah.
they don't rise, they don't come along. So stage 4 is a very personal time, not necessarily lonely, personal. The caterpillar has gone into the cocoon. You don't go
Mhm.
in there with a bunch of people. It's not going in there with a bunch of caterpillars, right?
Yeah.
It's its own thing. And it's becoming the butterfly. Anyway, once you settle into this space, you make it cozy, you make it kind of mentally home, you move into the 5th. Most beautiful stage. And this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal now. Self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. We didn't have the bandwidth with that earlier. Now we do.
Not at all.
The mind is healing, making all kinds of new rules, new boundaries, new
Mhm.
everything. And the 4 legs of that table, it used to be just all about the physical and the mental. By this point, we're solidly grounded because we're focused on the emotional and the
Yeah.
spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
Yeah, I love that thinking about, like, the power of stage 3, um, the empowerment of stage 4,
Ugh.
which is different. That the power of like the surge of like, oh, I'm gonna take charge, or whereas
Mhm.
the empowerment is like that choice, that grounded, rooted clarity that comes of hope. I mean, hope is possibility, which is agency and choice. Like, I have freedom to, what am I going to do with this? This
Mhm.
acceptance that this is a part of my story now, but it's not who I am. What am I going to make of this?
Exactly. And
Mhm.
stage 4, that's my favorite. It's like you're not supposed to have a favorite kid. I have a favorite stage, and it's it's stage 4. And I love it so much because that's where, when you hear the hero's journey, right? The hero's journey,
Mhm.
here's, the woman or the man walking along, and then all of a sudden there's the trauma, right? And then there's like, can I do this? Can I fight the bad guy or whatever? And then there's the climb, and the climb is so much higher. Stage 4 is that climb, is that I think I can do it. Let me see what I'm made of. And it's so forward moving because like stage 3, you're doing all your research, narcissists and how to, all the, like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Stage 4, it's like, what do I need? Who do I want to become now? What am I
Mhm.
ready to try? you know
Yeah.
and it's so beautiful because in this stages, each stage for me is, I have an image in mind, and stage 4 is bamboo. I have such a thing for bamboo because bamboo stays underground for like ever. I think 5 years. All the other flowers and plants, and they're popping up looking great. Bamboo, nope, underground. And then one day, when bamboo is good and ready, it shoots up so strong, so unapologetically like concrete and steel. That
I did not
stage.
know that
Oh, yeah.
about bamboo.
And I have such an appreciation, even whenever, if any of my kids go somewhere, they're like, "Oh, mom, there's bamboo here." I'm like, "Please get me a little piece," because it's just, there's so much power in. But what it's been doing those 5 years, it was underground, spreading
Mm.
its, all of the little legs and intertwining and creating this network. And when you see it, though, you see one strand, whatever it's called, like one shoot of bamboo, but it's so solid and strong because of what it was doing the last 5 years underground,
Yeah, it was really like, building that base first.
building a network,
And
building
I
that.
think of the, um, like, in stage 3, there's a lot of that, like, trying to control, or the obsession about the partner to try to
Mhm.
feel safe, whereas 4 is now the internal, I'm turning inward. I love that cocoon analogy,
Mhm.
like, "Okay,
Yeah.
what am I going to do here? Where's my power? Where's my control? What is it that I wanna take from this?" And that may very well be you lose the friends, maybe you lose the partner, that there's a whole new transformation, which is why I love that you call it post-betrayal transformation,
Mhm.
because that is exactly what there is the possibility for. So in my marriage, when all of the light really came out, when it was like everything unleashed, I told my husband, that marriage was over. I was like, "That's done." I took off the ring,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I was like, "You gotta date me. We gotta see if this is really what I wanna do, and you can propose to me again in a
Mhm.
year, and we'll see what I say."
Yeah.
So, I loved that in your book, Trust Again, like, when you're talking about the building the foundation, in the
Mhm.
book, you talk about this idea of that old relationship, like, it's done,
Mhm.
and you have to start this new relationship together, which I know you did a vow renewal for yours,
Oh, it
which
wasn't a vow renewal, it was a wedding. It was a new wedding.
the whole gamut.
But it was only with the kids, and it was only with the kids because I wanted them to write something. I wanted to know where they were at because
Mm,
he was the one who told them. And so they had been through it because
mhm.
for your kids to look and be like,
Yeah.
"You did what to mom?" And I
Yep.
think that was one of
Yep.
the reasons why he healed to the level that he did, because he lost everyone that mattered to him. I mean, to lose that level of respect,
Yeah.
and nothing wakes you up than something like that from your entire family. So,
Yeah.
but it was interesting. So he started just on his own journey to just this complete transformation. And yeah, so it was new ring, new vows, new dress, and the kids were the bridal party. And they it was I was shocked because each one of them, when they were reading what they wrote, they were talking about my strength and my ability to be willing
Wow.
to give someone a second chance and to forgive, and just the love of family
Yeah.
and all of that, and that's where National Forgiveness Day comes in too.
Yeah, I was
Because
going to ask about that.
yeah, because
Like,
as sensitive as I am, and as big, and I had been through disease, I've been through death of a loved one. To me, this was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And I was like, so I knew, I feel deeply for everybody, that I just see passing me by, or people that I'm working with. And I'm like, I know how painful this is. And if someone
mhm.
really goes through this and they really recreate something new and they are truly able to forgive, this deserves its own holiday.
Preach. It by far worst experience to
Right?
ever go through. Yeah.
Yes, the most transformative and the
Mhm.
most painful. I mean, I think the only, and I have no experience in this, but probably the only thing worse is losing a child.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's one of the most painful of the human experiences, because this was the person you gave your trust, your love, your sense of safety and security, like all of it, all of it. So if you're able to rebuild that to something even stronger with
Mhm.
that same person, of course, they're not the same because they're totally different
Yeah.
after something like that.
Yeah.
It's a whole different relationship.
Well, can you speak more to I know in, your book, which I love where you spoke about forgiving too soon and the
Mm,
impact that the harm that that can do, because a lot of people there is, like, this idea of, well, if you just forgive, then we can move on.
yeah,
But that actually does more harm than good when it's not met with these 5 stages of
for sure.
healing. So, what would you say are some of the big misconceptions that people do have aside from there's more to it, but in terms of forgiveness in the context of betrayal trauma?
I think it's well intentioned, but so often there's so much pain, and people just think, well, if I forgive, this pain will go away, but it's
Mhm.
not earned
Mm.
by that other person, and that level of safety and security and trust hasn't been established yet. So you're forgiving because you want this to go away.
Mhm.
You're not giving that other person an opportunity to rebuild what they, and not repair, because I don't think you can repair it. You need to rebuild it. Not, they haven't had the opportunity to rebuild what they broke. So when we forgive too soon, it's because we're hoping we'll just shorten the time that this takes. But that's where you feel hypervigilant. You don't feel safe. You don't feel solid. And when you've taken the time, because forgiveness has like the timeline, let's say, of trust, rebuilding trust, there's a decent timeline there.
Yeah.
But when you take that time, it's rock solid. And it's also, people think it's so, and I thought it was a one and done. Like, I forgive you. Ta-da. No. You know,
Yeah.
it's
That's
not
because
like that.
you
You
want
forgive,
it to be a
you
one and done, because it's a
right.
lot easier. Yeah.
No, it's a practice. It really is. And it takes time, and maybe you could forgive little things and grow, and over time it's real and it's solid. But just to give that too soon, and of course, forgiveness is all about us. It's to release the power all that pain has over us. That's the intention. That's the idea. But it's a very different thing. One thing is to forgive. Another is forgive and rebuild. Two
Yeah.
very different things. And people assume that forgiving means, well, I forgive you, so we're rebuilding again and we're all good. No, not necessarily, right? Two very different things. And I remember one of the studies I read during my study, and it said, if you feel safe and valued and you forgive, you feel better. If you do not feel safe and valued and you forgive, you feel worse. And I
Yeah.
upped it, and I talked about this in Trust Again, where it was, what if you exchange the word forgive to rebuild or reconcile? If I feel safe and valued and I reconcile, I feel better. If I do not feel safe and valued and I reconcile, I feel worse. And I think that's a good
Yeah.
thing to keep in mind, as you're rebuilding.
Yeah. That's why I often say that forgiveness is a byproduct of healing. It's not a precursor for it.
Oh, I love that.
But all too often we do. We think, like, if I just forgive, then I can start my healing.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes as there is that safety and that trust. When that is actually felt and
Mm-hmm.
experienced in an embodied way, then forgiveness, because there's that releasing, that forgiveness is a very freeing
Yeah.
experience. But when we're trapped in the confines of stage 3,
Mm-hmm.
there's no freedom that can be met.
And we also were withholding forgiveness because we feel it's within our control. So again, when we feel the rug has been pulled out from under us and we have no control over things, withholding forgiveness, although it sounds so crazy, it's something we have control over.
Yes. Oh,
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll reach for that control wherever we can get it. I
Mhm.
used to, my kids are pretty young, but I would follow behind them, like, cleaning everything up meticulously, because it was something, like, I felt so chaotic inside and in my
Mhm.
marriage that
Mhm.
I needed order. I remember walking into a room and the lamp had been moved. I swear it was like an inch. It was like barely at all. But I was
Mm.
like, "Who moved this lamp? This
Yeah.
is," and I
Yeah.
moved it back. I was like, "This is not where we're supposed to be."
Right.
Because of just as you said, there was trying to find some sense of
Mhm.
control.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of, um, you even named this in the book, where the we keep ourselves stuck because there is, I won't forgive or I won't move forward
Mhm.
because I feel like I have control and that power that
Yeah.
I'm not willing to give up because it feels better than what I had, and I'm not sure of the possibility of what is.
Yeah. And it's like that saying, drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Like, that's not fair to us.
Exactly.
And when we do forgive for our sake, not for anybody else's, I mean, what we get back, even health wise, just how we feel mentally and emotionally, it's really like you're walking around with a 500-pound backpack of rocks. And you
Mm,
just decide it's time to put it down. The lightness, the freedom, who you're ready to now become. And I think so many of us feel like it's fixed. Who we are, that's just who I am. No, it's not.
yeah.
It's who you were. This version of me, totally different than who I
Mhm.
was. Totally, totally. But that's the fun of it too. You get to decide. You get to decide all of it. Like even I remember years ago, I wasn't one of those like really huggy people. I just wasn't raised like that. I didn't know from that. But
Mhm.
I saw other people do it and I was like, I like how that looks. And I decided, let me try it on. And I did. And now I'm one of those people. If I see you, I'm just going to hug you. Like, it's just what goes on. And I'm really huggy. Like, but it was just, I like that. I'm going to try that on. Now that's who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about that with my kids. My older 2 are teenagers now, and they'll sometimes, like, "Oh, mom, why are you like this?" I'm like, "That's because I didn't have this."
Yeah.
And so I am more involved
Hmm.
because I didn't have a parent that was involved.
That's it.
I My husband and I show affection in front of my kids because
Hmm.
never once in the 18 years I lived at home ever saw any
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, no, I'm now choosing what type of person, what type of parent, what type of relationship that I want to be in and be, that's that transformation is coming through and say, wait, I can reinvent myself and build into this new version, this new butterfly.
That's it.
And what do I want to make of it? Think about that forgiveness in this backpack, putting it down, I think of more like all these rocks. It's like the more safety comes in, you're taking out the rocks.
Yes.
So like forgiveness becomes like there's almost like a moment of just, oh, I
Yeah.
do forgive you.
Yeah.
And it's not even like there has to always be this, oh, can I get there? Can I get there? Because it starts to naturally unfold
Yeah.
as you have that safety again, as you start to kind of find that trust in yourself again. And somebody else is like, oh,
And you
yeah,
know what's so beautiful about everything you just said? You're an example of doing the work. Like you broke the chain. You didn't see something that you grew up with you made it happen. You didn't have something, you gave it to yourself, and now you're giving it to your family. That's the whole idea. And I think people, they come from something and they're like, well, this is just what I know.
Yeah.
And yes, would it be great to learn all of our lessons because things just were easy? Yeah, sure. I have to say 95% of everything I've learned, it was not from that. Like, for example, it's very intentional why I had 4 kids. I knew I was going subconsciously, I was like, it's going to be the family I make, not the one I come from. And this way, it's like, okay, you don't like one sibling, here's another. You don't like this one, choose another. And so the whole idea is whatever you didn't have or you didn't get, make it different. You don't have to keep anything going that you don't like. Change all
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. I think it's so true when you're rebuilding this new relationship. We're talking a lot about with yourself, but with your partner, this new relationship, what is it that you want to make of it?
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't have to be the mold that was set by your parents. It doesn't have to be the mold that was set by society or by your religious group. Like, what is it that you guys want it to be? What
Mhm.
agreements do you want to have? How are you going to
Exactly.
navigate the evolution that you're going to continue to be on as individuals and as a couple? What do you want to make of it?
Yeah.
And that's something that I think can be continually revisited as you're on the journey. Like it's never a one and done.
Yeah.
It's what do
And
we
it's
want to
such a
make?
hopeful thing, especially for kids to see. Like, you look at the benefit of what your kids get to see now, right?
Absolutely.
Even like I look at my kids, I mean, what they have, and I even told them, like, you're seeing me crash, but you will see me rise. And what they've learned and what they've gained, of course, we want to shield them from everything,
Yeah.
but they get to learn, love and trust and friendship and family and so many lessons that you just can't get otherwise.
Yeah. Sometimes it astounds me. My oldest she'll be 15 next month.
Oh, good luck.
And well, it's already been a hell of a journey, I gotta tell you.
Mhm.
Um, but sometimes I am moved by the amount of pride that she takes in me and my husband,
Aw.
that she even once, just this past summer, actually, my sister commented about the transformation in my husband. We had a
Yeah.
family reunion, so we're all
Uh-huh.
together, and they're like, "Man, he is such a different person from who he was years ago, like
Uh-huh.
night and day."
Right.
And my sister turned to my daughter and was like, "Do you see the difference?"
Yeah.
And she's kind of paused and she's like, "Well, I was pretty young, but I feel the difference."
Oh, that's all that matters.
Right? I was like, that's the I think the proudest moment I've had as a parent is like, "Oh my gosh, to have my children feel the difference, that now to be in a home where they feel heard and valued and safe to
Sure.
because they know, oh, mom and dad are safe. They've got it. They can
Yep.
handle this.
Yeah.
I don't need to fear them in a rupture because that's
Mhm.
inevitable. I don't
Yeah.
need to fear it because I know that they can navigate it."
Yeah.
There's a lot of that settling for them, and there is hands down the best thing I've ever done as a parent is to rebuild that relationship with my husband and with myself,
Yeah.
hands
Beautiful.
down. So for those that are on this journey,
Mhm.
what are some thoughts that you would some kind of closing sentiments you'd wanna share with them?
The first thing I'd want them to know is this, even though it happened to you, it's not about you. And if you have to
Mhm.
say that a million times until you believe it, it's so true. We had a program for the betrayer for a long time, and hearing it from them every single day, it was so confirming
Mm.
because every one of them, it had nothing to do with my partner, nothing to do with them. It's so true, but we blame ourselves. It has nothing to do with you. And you've been through the worst of it already. You owe it to yourself to create a version of you that never would have had the opportunity to be created if it didn't happen.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So true. Wouldn't have had the opportunity and to really step into that butterfly that you can
Exactly.
now be. Yeah. Thank you so much, Debbie. You've shared so much and it's been a real delight. So thank you for all that you have put into the the journey of those navigating betrayal trauma. Thank you for your contributions.
Oh, thank you so much. Listen, I just want the 5 stages into as many hands as possible, and it's people like you that make that happen. So I'm so grateful.
Yeah. Thank you for creating this framework. So appreciate you. And hopefully we'll see you again.
Thank you so much.
And as always, take a deep breath, be gentle with yourself, and keep rising.